I might not be able to see from this far away.
That's okay. I'm gonna have to just bring it a little closer.
I wanted them to see the
Pull it back for the sound bath.
Hi, everyone. Say hi when you jump on. Just adjusting the camera situation. I wanted you to see the pretty bowls that we're going to be playing, but it's not going to fit.
Does Facebook have an audio setting we can do, like maintain original audio?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's going to be what it's going to be.
It's going to be what it's going to be. I've never heard of such a thing. Say hi when you jump on. Oh, happy Mercury Retrograde, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Careful now.
I know. I'm being careful. These bulls. Every time. Oh, hi. Christina. Oh, she's so stoked about her. Christina's getting her dragon invocation tomorrow, y'all.
Ooh.
So excited. Okay, so Mercury Retrograde sound bath. Guys. First of all, I kind of want to start by asking everyone. Well, first of all, we're going to start. Dylan has a really bad headache and a sinus drainage going on. So if you see it, he's fine. But send some extra love to him right now.
Third eye clearing.
Third eye clearing. So we'll just play the third eye bowl a little extra. Hey, Sari. Hey, everyone. I'd love to hear what everyone knows about Mercury retrograde before we start, because I would like to have a little fun debunking some of the normal myths, just because that's the kind of person I am. This hell has to come closer. I have to scroll.
Yeah.
Sorry, we tried to be fancy. We'll scoot it back for the actual sound bath part. Oh, no. Down here. Hi. Okay. So, I mean, in general, what do you think, Dylan? What's like the biggest thing that everyone says about Mercury retrograde?
Your technology is gonna break.
Yeah.
Yes, Sari. Thank you. I'll love some healing. Don't worry. It's nothing. It's nothing crazy.
No, I don't. He's fine. Just a past life curse trying to fuck him up. It's
yeah,
fine.
just a past life curse. So basically, Mercury retrograde. I think for me, it's definitely communication is going to go awry. Three biggest things is communication with yourself and others, technology glitching out, computers, phones, your car breaking, and it doesn't matter if it's digital; it could be mechanical too. And then the third one is exes and their texts flying into the inbox, or past life people or people from your 10 years ago showing up. Hey, I owe you $5 for a burrito that you bought me in San Francisco. What's your Venmo? And I'm like, wait, what? What burrito? And he's like, you don't remember? And I was like, oh no, I'll take the Venmo.
I'll take the Venmo. Oh my God, so true. Okay, is it gonna scroll along? Oh my God, it's not.
I can scroll for you.
Scroll with us. That's what's annoying. Okay, what does that one say?
I tend to experience some communication issues like misunderstandings. Yep.
Okay, so Mercury retrograde, I mean, if y'all got the email, is the planet that rules communication and logic, intelligence. It's also the ruler of the third house, correct? So it's like closer knit community. It's not so big, wide out there, but like siblings and cousins and those sorts of things.
But it also rules the ninth house.
Oh, it also.
Or no, the seventh house, sorry.
Also
sixth house.
Okay.
Sixth house, yeah. Sorry, third and sixth house.
Not
I was doing the notes. Third and sixth house too. So it's going to affect your daily grounding. Yeah. It's going to affect how connected you are to Earth. Are you way up here or are you down in your body?
Yeah. So when we move into super consciousness, we realize that we actually are no different than our planet. So we know that we're made of star stuff. We are living stars. We are living gods here on this planet. And we have to learn how to take command of the energies, especially when there is so much global conversation around something specific. Like, you notice that Neptune was in retrograde a good chunk of last year, but you weren't seeing a meme every fucking other day about Neptune's retrograde, right? We had a bunch of planets in retrograde last year.
Yeah.
Back so your head's not
yeah, I'll skip back. I'm just looking for a specific.
But Mercury is just constant, right? Especially because it happens 3 times a year.
4 times.
3 to 4 times a year, depending on when it lands within the year. And it's always like this big deal, right? Like he said, tech issues happen. So within the superconscious leader circle, you're going to learn what the biggest thing is that you create your own belief systems. For example, I haven't tuned in or worried about Mercury retrograde in probably over 2 years. And I never have any tech issues. I don't have tech issues when I go live. I have perfect, like, clean communication. And even if there's not like a communication breakdown, like last night, Dylan and I were messaging back and forth, and it said that he was on Facebook, but he wasn't replying. Never once did I think, oh, Mercury retrograde is fucking me over. What I thought was, oh, he probably must have left his laptop open and he's actually asleep because he's an old man and goes to bed at 8. Right? So I wasn't ever putting my power into the retrograde. So that's what this sound bath is going to be helping you with, is clearing those old stories and belief systems that you might have around Mercury retrograde, because it's not that they're not factual, it's, are you going to subscribe to it? Are you going to use the facts of Mercury retrograde and all of the energy shifts and all of the global consciousness as excuses for why you're just going to shut down for the next 3 weeks, right? You could even create, like, technically what's going on with Dylan would be considered a Mercury retrograde issue if you really think about it, because his third eye is all opening, which is communication to the spirit realm. So he could go down a whole rabbit hole and cause all sorts of issues for himself. Oh, Mercury retrograde is totally fucking me over. I got to turn off my website. I got to cancel all my appointments. I got to do all these things. Or he could say, well, I had a lot of downloads when I was on the treadmill and now my third eye is clearing, and the planets would have nothing to do with it. Does that make sense?
I want to touch on this too as an astrologer myself and lover of astrologer. It's like, you can really get into it when you're learning all of the descriptions and the themes and symbolism behind all the signs and the planets. Really, because why is it so interesting? Because it's just a reflection of us on a grander scale. So it's like those Russian Kachina dolls. We are here, this middle doll, and the next one is our solar system, and then the Milky Way galaxy and the cosmos and so forth and so forth. So we're really intrigued by what's above us and what's below us. That's why there's this fascination with heaven and hell. We're always looking to the stars, we're looking up, we're looking why, and then we're looking straight down to the ground where we know we're going to end up, and we're wondering what's next. So it's that combination, that ebb and pull, right? We always want to get done too. We're like, do me, Instagram, Facebook, teacher, guru, live stream, and just tell me what I need to know so I can do exactly what you say, which inherently is the same program that we're trying to decondition out of as superconscious leaders. So it's really a conundrum, because we deprogram from the 3D matrix, we get into the spiritual world and the new age community, and it's all this new programming, Metatron, a Geekcon, a Lucaton, all these different things, right? Like, I'm like, there's just so much, and your head gets so big and so filled, and then you just take it as a truth because an astrologist told you that this is how you should feel, this is what's going to happen, when most of the astrological data comes from 2,000 to 4,000 years ago when all the texts were written, right? So we're having new bodies, new DNA, all kinds of stuff, but we're using old principles. So we're still in the patriarchy in the old world. So as you climb and ascend through consciousness, you're here in this Kachina doll, then you're in the solar system, then you're in the Milky Way. When you get above the solar system planetary consciousness, you start playing with the planets. You can start utilizing the planets instead of being a victim to the planets. So how do we take Mercury retrograde and make it amazing and work for you? You set up boundaries. And it's very important that we do that. I'll let Karen talk about that a little bit. But right now, if you're feeling it, Mercury has moved into Capricorn. It's that 10th house, your highest potential. So some of the themes here are highest contract, life direction, accomplishments, contributions to society, reputation, social status, profession, career, vocation, honor, prestige, job title, leadership, ambitions, to your own power, authority figures, one parent, your boss. And then this also is stacked with Venus, the planet of love and creativity, Saturn, the planet of discipline, Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, and the sun, all stacked together right now. So you're probably facing inner turmoil, friendship turmoil, relationship communication turmoil, daily structure, daily life habits. Look, this third eye drainage thing is trying to take me out of the gym after I got all these downloads on the treadmill. It was blasting me wide open. And it's like, no, you can't do that anymore. We're going to take you out of there. And then Jupiter, our wisdom, our teachers, questioning all of our teachers, questioning everything we've learned. What do we follow? What do we listen to? Who do we listen to? Why do we let so many people we don't know, just because they have 190K on Instagram, define what our reality is going to be based off of the story or post that they post that day because it seems cool? I'm done.
Yes. So this is what's so beautiful, you guys, about having both of us as teachers. I know absolutely jack shit about astrology. Like, honestly, I've learned more in the last 10 months, or what month is it? Since October, when Dylan and I started really like connecting, than I had ever previously. But one thing I did know was that I was never going to be a victim to the celestial bodies. In fact, I did a live stream literally a year ago this week. My Sunday morning coffee with Karen topic was how to not get fucked by the celestial bodies. And the whole thing is, can you play with gods? Since you are a god, are you willing to go play with the gods that are our planets? Are you willing to go hang out with Jupiter, and instead of saying, okay, well, you're in Capricorn and you're making me question everything, can you sit down and have a conversation with the god Jupiter? Can you go have a conversation with Zeus and say, okay, what is actually going on, and have that inner knowing that you are an equal to the planets. You are really, you could be your own planet. Our planet Gaia, Sophia Gaia, is a dragon herself. Just because you're a human, you just condensed into a smaller form, doesn't mean you're any different than the planet. So that's something that I really would love. Any of you who are super into astrology, it's something that I helped Dylan break away from over the last few months too. He was checking it all the time. My Vedic, my Tropic, and this and that and this and that. Every client, I need to know everything. And now by loosening the grip on that belief system, is able to more easily play within, okay, I have an awareness that it's Mercury retrograde, so other people might be getting fucked up, but I'm not going to allow that to affect me. And in fact, I'm not even going to be available for people who are a victim to it as well. Like, I've had multiple people cancel their appointments over the last couple of weeks. That's fine. It's not a big deal. I'll see you after Mercury retrograde, because I kind of don't want to fuck with you if you're going to play a victim to it.
Yeah. Also, like really grounded 3D masculine types who are not into the right brain at all, not into the feminine brain at all. They don't get affected by the transits.
Not at all.
They're so in their body. They're so here on Earth. Yes, maybe their phone glitched out, but it's nothing.
They don't think about it. Like, my car is broken right
Yeah,
now.
very Mercury retrograde.
My husband.
If you want it to be.
Yeah. If he wanted it to be, my car is in the shop. It's not broken. It's just in the shop and is going to take a couple extra days than we thought it was going to. My husband could give less of a fuck that it's Mercury retrograde right now. He's just thinking it's when we have to get the car registered, so you got to put the money down and you got to get the car fixed so that you can be registered, right? So when you think of the global consciousness as well, once you step into the spiritual realm, all of a sudden you're being given all these new belief systems that before you were spiritual, you never prescribed to. But after you're spiritual, you're like, oh, this makes so much sense. Why 4 times a year all my exes start texting me randomly? Thanks for making it so clear. And then all of a sudden you're a victim to the planets. So I would like to know from you guys who are watching, because there's like 11 or 12 of you on, how is this landing for you? Do you have any questions about practicality at all? Because I do like to give practical advice. I know it takes like 30 seconds, so we'll take a second.
Does it?
We also didn't like this. Yeah.
We haven't started yet.
I know. We were just talking. Yeah, it takes 30 seconds or so for it to.
Oh, I got something else to share too.
All right, well then just start sharing.
We'll catch up. Yeah. So also thinking about retrograde, right? Like if you have this pattern where like you may have, okay, the way collective consciousness works is we're all interconnected, right? So if there's 100 million people on the planet who believe in Mercury retrograde, it's going to affect everyone who knows about it in a stronger resonance because it's just a hive mentality. No matter where you are, no matter what place you are, what timeline you're in, it's just hive mentality. So you start to attract these similar things like, oh, my ex texted me every Mercury retrograde for the last 4 retrogrades. Therefore, retrograde means this. Therefore, I've created this program that runs in the background that creates a reality that is just like this. And it keeps happening because of my belief system is when retrograde happens for 15 to 21 days, this kind of stuff can happen. Therefore, it is fact. And you've given away all your power basically to yourself, which is interesting. and just taken away from your avatar. So really just starting to focus on also thinking about when astrology became big in the West, it was commodified as a opportunity to sell things, to create some sort of a new industry. It was placed in a lot of papers and magazines. You'll find it in the back of like People magazine randomly, newspapers. And so it was one of those things kind of like ice and soda. It just happened to happen and it became really popular and really big because
America. You gotta ask for ice in your soda when you're in Europe.
you gotta ask for your study in America because it became big because they want us focusing on a bunch of nonsense, right? There's a lot of that. So it's how do you come out of somebody else's power vacuum, their like sort of cyclone of power from what they tell you to believe and make your own stuff and start realizing how you are the planets. And when you realize you are the planets, then you start to play with the planets and then you get the downloads. Because when you don't realize it's the same tug of war with the shadow, you don't fully get to work with the shadow. It's the same thing with the planets. You tug and war with the planets and you're running into the same blockages.
Yeah. And do you want to talk about how Vedic astrology looks at retrogrades differently than tropic? Don't they treat them a little different?
Kind of. There's not too much of a difference with what's going on as far as that. It's just the signs.
Okay.
So it would just be the houses. Right now, they would tell you that Mercury was going retrograde in Aquarius, but it's just moved back into Capricorn.
So just notice that within yourself too. If you start reading things, I guess I will always continue to forever tell you this in this group until it's like in your brain. Just because you see posts that say that it's retrograde in a certain sign, but you don't feel like you're getting affected in that way, look at one sign back and see if maybe that's affecting you a little bit more. So we just had our full moon. Everyone thought it was in Leo, but we were talking about Cancer. I was personally dealing with a whole lot of emotional stuff and not so much fiery, like moving forward stuff. So even with Mercury retrograde, any retrogrades, really just make sure you're looking at your Vedic astrology honestly more to deal with right now. And then you can look at your tropic astrology if you're like trying to make a plan, right? Like I wouldn't suggest making any plans during Mercury retrograde. Honestly, if you can help it.
But it's a really good time to build.
Yeah,
and it's
a good time to build and go inward.
The theme of this time, this one really big is forgiveness. And oh my gosh.
This happens to me all the time.
The theme of this one is forgiveness. And it's not so much like reaching out to people and being like, hey, I forgive you. Or like, do you forgive me? Like, can we please squash this? Can we please clear the air? It's just like all you're doing is you're just thanking them. Whether you're thanking them in a text, a phone call, when you see them, you're just thanking them for being them, right? The greatest teacher that you could have, someone maybe who hurt you or triggered you or you triggered or did something too. It's just an opportunity for you to really dive into that. And it's for you to decide if you want to reach out to them because you might not get the response that you want and you may find that the communication blockages are too strong, and that's okay. Can you tell her to stop?
I'm being spammed right now by someone who wants to talk to me because they think I'm a hot piece of ass. Okay,
oh my
I'm trying
God.
to block them.
Oh my God.
Give me a second. It's what happens.
So how Mercury retrograde? How Mercury retrograde is that? Is it cutting off the video? Okay,
no, it's not cutting off the video. Good.
Feeling the energies you don't, you just slow down and be clear. Yep, exactly, Melissa. That's really where it's at. Tracy, I used to freak out about it. So glad I'm not in that space anymore. Me too. I'm just so glad that I'm not there. Annie, the thing about Mercury retrograde is that so many people hate it and give away their power during the time of negativity to bad events. Retrograde isn't bad. It just means we have to communicate better and stand firm in our personal power. Amen.
Yeah. So boundaries. Yeah. That's what we're talking about, right? So a huge boundary, even for today, was I'm going to go live. Whether or not Dylan is sick and I have to sing to you and you weren't going to get a full sound bath and it was going to be a vocal time,
I thought about that.
You still would have gotten something because my boundary is that if I set up a live, unless, like, I think in a year I've only canceled one live stream and it was when I had 105-degree fever and no voice. I actually had a training that whole week. I still went live when I had the fever, but the day that my voice got cut off, obviously I can't go live. So that's a big boundary for me, is that I want to show up when I say I'm going to show up. It's also the reason why you won't hear me say I'm going to do something unless you're getting a confirmation and you're seeing me like put it in my phone right then, because it drives me mad. to have expectations that then aren't met. So why would I show up? So that's one thing about Mercury retrograde that I really do like, is that inward reflection. Okay, all this stuff's going on, communication issues, all these different things. And how am I not communicating? How do I not communicate with myself? What stories am I just running as my background programming versus what do I actually desire? So for many of you guys are entrepreneurs, so we'll just use this example. You might have a goal for a certain amount of clients every month or a certain amount of money every month, but you're not actually setting up your boundaries and your structure to allow for that to come into you. You're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to change my prices. I'm going to change my niche. Maybe I'll just do this. And somehow magically everything's going to work out. Yes, things happen magically, but it's a lot easier if there's a bowl to catch the water in or to catch the money in than if you're just like, okay, come on, just I hope it works. I hope it works. So this Mercury retrograde, especially with it being in Capricorn and Aquarius, what is it, Capricorn?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want it to be in, is really good to look at your own structure. Where am I not communicating with myself? Where am I setting a standard but not meeting it, and therefore telling myself a lie, right? Like, I'm not going to ever say, okay, I'll see you at the gym, because I don't go to the fucking gym. But Dylan's been going to the gym very consistently. So he's been showing up. So of course there's going to be some sort of something like, oh, are you really going to go to the gym? Are you really going to continue? Or are you going to let a runny nose KO you? Right?
Yeah. And so I think we're talking about boundaries, right? You're like, okay, how do I set boundaries in general? And how do I set boundaries with something so big like a celestial body? You go through the stories that you told yourself about retrograde before, and you laugh at them. And you just laugh at yourself, and you laugh at them, and you laugh, and just laugh. Because it's funny, right? Because we want to know everything so bad. We want to classify everything, that even we'll reach to the stars and give them attributes, names, songs, stories, pictures, whole epics, tales about them. Because we love doing that stuff. So stepping out of that, stepping out of the things you expect to happen, and start to focus on what miracles you can do by going inward, and then really pay attention to what you're attracting. So if the way I've been looking at the Mercury retrograde since I've set the boundaries is to see how are things still coming into my boundaries. Are clients being like, hey, can I come today? Can I come in 30 minutes or whatever? Like no respecting the schedule, that kind of stuff. People flaking on and off, weird communications, that kind of stuff. Seeing how that is just a reflection of my overall boundaries, not just Mercury retrograde, amplified by it, and then stepping and starting to set those affirmations for who am I and what do I really want? What do I want to allow in my sphere? So the retrograde is allowing the chaos to show a little bit more, so you can dive into it and then set those boundaries, and then you can play with Mercury. Then you can go deep, and you can really hear what yourself is telling you. Maybe this whole third eye thing, this clearing thing that I'm having in my nose that happened from all the visions I got yesterday is just from a curse that I put myself under 100, 500 years ago in Salem. Who knows? And this one is only clearing because it's Mercury retrograde, and it's allowing me to have this communication with myself.
Yeah.
Where I could be like, oh my God, I'm cursed. It's all going to hell. I'm just going to get pneumonia. All this bad stuff's coming. And then, bam, two different perspectives. You're still in the same body, same place.
Yeah. And with that too, I'd like to jump off of that as well, is the boundaries, or anything. When you make a new choice, like, okay, I'm now going to be someone who only takes appointments with 24-hour notice, right? If you set that boundary and then all of a sudden a retrograde or anything starts coming up, someone testing you, that is a reflection coming back to you of all the other times where you didn't keep a 24-hour schedule, right? And it's really a question. Are you strong in that boundary? Are you actually going to hold it? Meaning, even if you're behind on rent and someone says, hey, I want to come and book a session for this afternoon, how are you going to respond? Are you going to respond to, oh yeah, I totally need the money, so come on in? Or are you going to, because if you do, then what is that telling the universe? It's telling the universe, oh, my boundaries don't fucking matter. I actually don't believe in this. Versus, nope, I have a 24-hour schedule. I have 24-hour, here's my schedule, right? So a lot of people will say, well, when is this pattern going to be over? I've done my clearing, I've done my healing, I've gotten off on it, I'm doing existential kink, I've listened to my dragon invocation, and yet I'm still getting tested over and over and over again. Well, if you're still getting tested over and over and over again, you're probably still reacting the same way over and over and over again. What your job is to change your response to the stimuli. Meaning, again, no, I have a 24-hour notice policy. Doesn't matter that I'm behind on rent. Because then most likely you're going to do that and 3 people are going to book because you actually held your boundary versus just letting that one in, making the quick money, and then you're still just going to get pushed around all the time.
And the biggest thing about that too is if you don't set the boundary, you accept the money, you lower your value, you lower your integrity, you lower everything, you go out of your own self-worth of what you set in place, your own frequency and your own vision, your own timeline that you said, hey, I'm not working Sundays. And you come out of that, you're no longer in control of your own reality. You're letting other people dictate that. And when you allow that chaos to come in, the whole chaos can smell you. And they attract to that, like attracts like, whether or not they know it. They come in, they sniff you out, and they know, oh, this person has no boundaries. I can come show up in their life and be that client who just takes, and they're going to keep wanting to have me come in here because they're in savior complex or they're in scarcity. And you're no longer the great valued treasure that you are. You're born to be. You're just basically, can I say prostitute on this one?
Yeah.
You're a prostitute. Yeah.
Not a sacred one.
Not a sacred one.
Like a dirty one.
And no shade to the industry. But.
No shade to the industry, sex workers. We love you all.
Yeah.
World's oldest profession. Let's see. Wow. Thought about the scheduling and that. Yeah, exactly. So and this can come real honestly, guys, with anything at all that you can think about when you're getting tested. Okay, first of all, let's try to stop looking for the tests and start looking for miracles. That in and of itself is going to clear so many tests from your field because you're no longer looking at every situation like, oh, I wonder how this is the universe testing me. You are not in college. You're not.
What's our whole life?
No, yeah, our whole life is
We've
a
been
test.
tested. SATs to the other ones to all those things.
Yeah, your whole life you've been tested, so you think that everything's a test.
Tested by your parents.
So switching even does that to where's the miracle in this? Or not even the test, but where's the lesson in this? That will in and of itself, like 50% of your tests will just like disappear because you're not available to find tests.
Also knowing you're the one who gave you the test.
Yeah, also knowing you're the one giving yourself.
And then you're like, dang it, all right, I'm over these tests. It's time to clear this timeline.
I want miracles.
Yeah.
So when you do that, then the next thing that you need to do is really you set those clear boundaries. And again, when anyone tests this boundary, instead of being like, oh, I thought I set this intention. Oh, I thought I was over this. Do you see how like victim-y and like little child girly I sound when I'm doing that? I'm like, don't get me wrong, I make a lot of money from people sounding like that. But I would like to teach other people to not do that so I can go travel the world doing healing music tours instead, to be honest. Right? Like, oh, I can't believe this. Why is this happening again? Instead of, oh, it's happening again. Well, how would I normally react? Okay, normally I would throw a mini temper tantrum and just cave. So instead, I'm going to laugh at it, I'm going to get off on it, I'm going to go swim, and I'm going to respond the opposite of it, right? So maybe you always get in a fight with your husband. If you guys are, here's a trick, ladies. If your husband and you start like fighting, just make a fake orgasm sound and walk away, and I promise you he'll be stunned and he won't even want to keep fighting. He'll want to fuck and it'll be over. Because you're not getting into the fight. You're not giving him the satisfaction of the fight anymore, right? So let it go.
Not giving anyone that satisfaction.
Nobody gets to fight with you. Why? Because if they're fighting with a dragon, they're going to get burned and like literally devoured and eaten, and you should be really picky. You should be picky. We're vegans.
Yeah, we're vegan now. We're not gonna eat you.
Okay.
The big one that was coming through too is like I'm hearing for everybody, since this is a more simple way to do it, is to set boundaries for what you want to, right? So like say this great, you've been chasing this boy or girl or person and you love them so much, but they've been kind of ghosty. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do this today. It's going to be a me day. I'm going to dive deep. I'm going to do my inner work. I have this planet. And then they got the text that comes through. hey, you want to hang out with me? You've been waiting to hang out with me forever. Remember me? You've been wanting me. And then you have the option there to hold your boundary. Do you say yes to someone else's reality when they don't respect your reality enough to communicate to you or set something up in advance? Like, how much can you start to say no, even if it is someone you want to have sex with, or you want to, like, how do you know that, right? Because a great opportunity can come to you in business, multi-million-dollar deal. That sounds amazing, but it's out of an alignment with your values and your integrity, and it will cause harm to your life, but it will make you slightly rich. Do you say yes to that, or do you have faith the universe says if you can say no to this temptation, you will be blessed with as much as you need to continue to do your mission that is in alignment with your soul?
That's huge. That's a huge, huge, huge one. I hope that you guys all really like hear that, right? You guys can see, we're creating magic over here, and that's one thing that we are actually constantly dealing with is this investor actually in alignment for our grand like next 10-year vision, or is it just a quickie, right? And we're going to now be stuck with them for 10 years when their energy isn't even in alignment. They're playing baseball and we're over here playing, I don't know, backgammon or something like that. They're not even in the same sport at all, but because they got a lot of money, are we going to take the deal? Now, luckily, that's a no for us, but we've also both done such intense inner work that we can look at a $5 million contract and say, namaste, thank you, but no thank you, and let it go and know that something else is going to come, right?
And being okay with letting it go, right? And not just waiting for that first moment of validation. When I was a professional musician and doing a lot of touring and stuff with gigs and opportunities for records, I would say yes at every opportunity with no filter because I wanted to be seen so bad that I ended up making deals that were actually harmful for me long term financially. I could have put my foot down and said, no, I need these terms instead of getting these terms that I got just out of desperation to be seen, validated by some company or some record label or somebody, right, who we thought was bigger than ourselves to validate us, that we would go into that, shadow prostitute and just take whatever comes, which if you're taking it as you come, you're a beggar and you're a scavenger. And sometimes you can find treasure doing that, but most of the time you're getting scraps and gruel, even if it's dressed up like a fancy dollar sign.
Yeah, it's a really big one, especially in the healing community, especially when you're already stepping out of, okay, well, I'm a healer, but I can charge for my gifts, because that's the first layer, is even being okay with charging for your gifts. Then it's the next layer of, okay, but I'm not gonna just sell my gifts to anyone, because that's just selling your soul. You're just selling your soul to anyone who will take it, and then you become this savior. Oh, I'm gonna save the planet with my healing gifts. I'm not here to save you. And I've told you guys this for over a year and a half now, so hopefully you believe me. I'm not here to save you. I'm here to stand as a lighthouse, to be the example, to show you the way. But if you're in the middle of a giant storm that's pushing your boat around, I'm a lighthouse. I cannot come to you in the ocean. But I trust you, and I know you, and I see you, and I do have faith that you can figure your shit out, get to shore, climb on up here, and hang out in the lighthouse, or go build your own lighthouse is really what I hope you do. Right? Eventually, you might need to get warm, get some cocoa, a little bit of vegan stew, and then be on your way. I hope that really helps you guys when it comes to like the different layers. It's a whole journey. Some of you guys might have never heard the fact that you can play with planets. You might have, until right now. This could be the first time you've ever heard that you don't have to be a victim to Mercury retrograde. Other of you have probably been doing Mercury rituals for the last however many Wednesdays and know that you can play with the planets already, but this is going to help you take it to that next level of whatever it is that you're trying to unlock within your neurology.
And this really goes for everything, right? Because it's setting boundaries with everything. Setting boundaries we just never thought that we could set boundaries with certain things. We didn't think we could set boundaries with work because we're working for someone, they're paying us, we have to show up a certain way. Like, we didn't think we could set boundaries with friends. And we're actually teaching people with having a hard no, teaches people to value your yes and to value their no. It's not personal. It's just like, how can we set healthy boundaries to continue to grow and love and advance together, and to be able to really set the structure to pull in, especially in this healing community and anything ascension, light working, new age, whatever. You need to get grounded, and boundaries are the number one way to get grounded, because it keeps you in to where you need to be. You know exactly where you need to be, because your body field will be an instant no. Hell no.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, that's so out of alignment for me. I'll just know right away. But I myself, being very cosmic, astral, high air energy stuff, I often, my whole life, have no boundaries. This is not until this year, after deep, deep work, did boundaries find me and say, hey, install this. It's time. And I'm still just like, ah!
Yeah, so I'm reminded here of the quote from Green Tara, the Green Tara mantra, Om Dare Tutare Ture Soham, which really translates easily to I am the tree of life that reaches up and touches every star, and I am the star that crosses over and becomes the tree of life. So a lot of the times we get stuck in headiness. We get, oh, I can astral travel. Someone taught me to astral project to the great central sun, and I met the Pleiadians, and I met the Syrians, and all of these things. And then you're just always up here, always up here. Sure, you're surviving, and you're making some good money here and there. You can pay your rent, you can do that. But how grounded are you in your actual practice? Are you all that you preach to be, to quote Lizzie Jeff? Are you really actually being all that you preach to be, or do you just preach like a dirty, I don't know, like I'm thinking about Catholic priests right now, right? They always talk about all this, like not fucking around with little kids, and then what are they doing? They're fucking around with little kids.
Oh,
Those are not like, they're not actually in alignment. Yeah, I went there. I always go there. Come on now. You have to actually, don't set a boundary or don't tell a client to do something that you yourself aren't willing to do or haven't done, right? Just because I give my clients homework might not mean that I'm still doing it, but I've gone through that process before already.
Also, because we're always talking about manifestation and abundance and attraction and whatnot, you know, how you're creating your own reality and all that stuff. How much energy, how much mana, how much spiritual energy are you putting towards the higher dimensions, towards the megalons and towards the Pelagians and to the Syrians and the portals and the channeling and all that? How much of your precious alchemical energy, your ability to turn dense metals into gold, are you spending on fantasy that may or may not be real?
Oh, they're real.
That may or may not. That may or may not be real. That may or may not be real. That may or may not affect this dimension. And how much are you spending with yourself? And that's the balance you want to look at, right? Because stories of other people, maybe you've hallucinated and had your experience, and you've experienced and you've connected with them, and you get the transmissions. Allow that to open, because if you had never heard of them, most likely you would never have met them unless you truly at that divine moment that brought you to them. How much space are you giving to them versus how much space could you be using Mercury, your thoughts, your communication, your throat chakra, to manifest the reality that you truly want?
You have to spend time in your body to make changes in the planet. It took me a while to figure that one out. Yeah, exactly. You have to spend time in your body. And Mercury, let's get back to Mercury for a second, is also Thoth. Okay, so a lot of people don't realize that Thoth and Mercury and Hermes are all the same god. So when you think about that, Hermes is a trickster god. He likes to fuck with you on purpose. So even just understanding that energy of it makes Mercury retrogrades kind of a laughable time. You can go look at the memes and you can be amused by them, like the one I posted, like put into the email that I sent out. It's just like a little giggle. For me, I think it's hilarious, but other people take it so seriously. So they're being dense around an ideal instead of finding the gold in it. Where's the gold? Well, what we can do is spend an hour, 90 minutes talking to you about Mercury retrograde and then hearing a beautiful sound bath. Or we could be stuck like, oh, my phone's fucking broken and then my laptop broke and now I have to take the bus. Like, the more you're thinking about how negative Mercury retrograde is going to affect you, guess what? You're gonna attract more negativity. Or you can say, okay, well, Mercury's retrograde. It's a good time to look at my business practices because Mercury also is the ruler of commerce. I can look at my boundaries. I can look at my communication. It's a good time to go inward. So this year we don't have as many retrogrades as we did last year. We had like all of the planets retrograde at once, I swear to God, last year. But that was what happened in 2020. We had a very introspective year because we were all in lockdown, right? So that energy more of, okay, I'm gonna look, I'm gonna like just, Okay, astrology, I see you, I know you, I understand. I was probably a badass astrologist in a past life, which is why I'm not so interested in it in this life. Check in, but then come back to me. Come back into my own heart right now. Am I going to allow these energies to push me off my path? Or am I going to take the chaos, take the energy of the chaos, and still create something beautiful by continuing, like, oh, who no one should ever launch a new brand in the middle of Mercury retrograde. I've heard that like 6 times.
How many times?
And I'm like, well, I'm in the middle of launching a new brand right now, and we're already booked out for our events until April. So,
It's all working too. It's all happening with ease and grace. Like all this stuff, the communication, yeah, it might be a little slower just because there's a lot going on right now overall. But things are happening, they're falling into alignment, and everything's working the best way. I think, one last thing I want to say about astrology in general too, it's really misconstrued and misunderstood because all it was a bunch of dudes and people, women, everybody looking up at the stars and just observing and connecting to those energies, channeling into those portals of light that are being sent down. So if you really want to focus on any placement, any alignment, go look when the planets are in the sky. They transit the sky every year. Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, they're all visible. All of the ones that are inside the asteroid belt. So you start tuning into that. You start viewing them. You start feeling it. Because all astrology is just getting in tune with nature and the elements.
yeah.
All of this extra stories are somebody else's definition that everyone else is like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Oh, that fits. Oh, that fits. Oh, that fits. Especially when you start doing, like, I'm a super nerd, so I research astrology. Even Native Americans have their own version of astrology. You don't really hear about it, but they have their own stories. So what are the different constellations? Just go research the Hercules constellation. It's different in every single country, but they all saw the same formation of stars and they all created their own story about what that meant, like what allowed it to be there. So I think that's good. 40-minute chat. We're going to jump into the sound bath part now, which is not my forte, so I'll let Dylan set it up for y'all. I'm going to be off camera, so I love you.
Headphones, if you have it, get comfy. Get a crystal, lay down. The sound, we're going to see how it sounds. And then, yeah, set your intention, right? Start to maybe bring some of those stories in mind eye about Mercury Gatorade, retrograde, and allow that to clear out and allow that to just go. Release it with the sound, allow the sounds to clear it out, and then maybe just have a nice little chuckle, right? Because it's funny how much we give our power away to all these stories, whether it be spiritual things or the other stories in the world. So yeah, enjoy. Slowly wiggle your fingers and toes. Bring some movement back into your body. Take a deep breath and stretch. And bring it in for a hug. Giving yourself some love and support during this retrograde season. Just bringing into your mind's eye, into your heart, just a few things that you're truly grateful for. Rub your hands together. Reach up and clap. Down to the center. And we'll do one over seal. Inhale. Namaste. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for your patience. We decided we'd try Facebook for the audio quality. Next time we do this, we'll probably send you all a Zoom link because we know that audio quality works way better. But we appreciate your patience. We're trial and error, right? Take imperfect action instead of no action at all. So to wrap, just open it up. If anyone has any questions, comments, want to give some love to the beautiful musician to my right. Okay. We love you all. Thank you so much for joining us today. A few announcements. What are we announcing? First of all, if you are in the Salt Lake City area or want to come to Salt Lake City for any reason, next Friday, the 12th, we will be doing a live Lunar New Year sound bath and healing event. So make sure you DM us about that. We are doing a live twin flame activation event a month from now in March. Every Thursday, we're going to be going live at noon. So next week will be our new moon in whatever fucking sign it is. New moon, Lunar New Year ritual at noon. The following week, we'll be doing a twin flame meditation. Then the next week will be full moon. So every other week on Thursday will be your newer full moon. And then in between, we'll still be doing sound baths or we'll be doing other meditations and teachings. So make sure you just choose your calendar, put in your calendar, noon Mountain, Denver time, every Thursday. And then offerings that we have, of course, I still have a couple bespoke dragon invocations open. Make sure if you're interested in those to DM me. I talked about them a few times. There's a video you can watch. Is there anything else that you're offering right now, or are you kind of in?
Oh yeah, I'm doing online self-study, sound healing, and meditation, or one-to-one if you're local and you want a deep dive. The scheduling is very limited for that because we're working so much on this new stuff. So if you feel called or you want to do any work, just reach out. As always, Thursdays, this is our community event. So excited, so grateful to share this space with you guys. And yeah, I can't wait. Is today Thursday or Wednesday?
Today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
Colin says, my first Dylan sound bath. This is magical.
Amazing.
Colin, I love Colin. You're amazing. I love you. That was amazing. Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, he is amazing. There's a reason why we call him Healing Wands over here.
We just have, we'll get the miking down so it'll sound so good for you guys.
We'll figure that out. We will keep playing. We'll keep playing with the sound, figure out the best way to do those for you guys so they're really good quality. Eventually, we'll have a group dragon invocation in here as well, which is always fun, vocal toning. And then probably end up doing maybe a group Zoom where we all get to like actually see each other and be friends that way too, instead of us just talking at y'all. So lots of changes coming. Make sure that you reach out if there's any questions, comments, anything like that. If you're looking for more bespoke one-on-one or two-on-one help as well, make sure you're reaching out that way. And we will see you all next Thursday for the new moon. Well, it is Lunar New Year, new moon ritual.
Amazing.
We'll give you all the details later, so watch that. Okay, we love you. Bye.
Bye.